Hey, how you guys doing? Michael X. Yeah, so we're gonna be playing the Tiger 2H, which is interesting. It's an interesting vehicle. So I might not respond right away to anybody's comments because I'm not using the iPad. I'm just using one screen, so um, it's not really an iPad. It's actually just a notepad. So I'm on the road to getting this Leopard. But I do think that the Panther 2 is probably going to be a pretty fun vehicle, but in all reality, if I didn't have some premium time, um, I probably wouldn't be able to play. Yesterday I had a couple games, so if you lose, you lose money. So um, yeah, and I mean I'm not even playing against people. I'm sure it would be more if I played against people, but it's so unpredictable. So one thing I did notice is that the amount of credits or the amount of XP that you earn is about equal to even level 1. So if I was playing these tanks and going up this, it would still take me like 15 games to actually complete just 4,000 XP. I don't know why they do that, but I mean, it does actually help you on the higher tiers. Um, and checking my chat right now, see how everything looks. What I'm doing is I'm just basically filming my screen, and then you guys can see my mouse moving. But in all reality, I'm actually looking at a whole nother screen, so that's helpful. All right, so this is basically what I have right now. So each time you go up and get a new vehicle, so for instance, I was playing this tank. The highest it would play would be 6.3. You guys can actually see it here when I look at this. If you have a tier, well, not even tier, if it's rated 1.0, it'll be 1.0 to 2.3. So when you get to the higher end, you'll start kicking butt, but when you start the lower tiers, so I'm in the 6.7 all the way to 8, so that's a huge area um, of, I'll just say, losing constantly. um, yeah, it's a huge area that you can lose. Now APCRs are worth nothing really. You can ammo rack vehicles at close range with this. If you know where the ammo rack is, you can kill the crew sometimes, or at least disable vehicles. But if it's angled in any way, shape, or form, this just ricochets. So it's almost a useless shell. Now the heat though, heat actually isn't that bad. Um, yeah, it actually isn't that bad. It's weird because it says 210 on here, but it says it only can penetrate 110 millimeters. So if you're shooting at like 2,000 meters, I'm pretty sure that might actually be a better shell to use. But the standard um, shells are the best on here for me. I prefer the standard, not only because they're free. One of the cool things you guys may notice is look at the price of the premium shells. I mean, it's 60 more, I think they call them talons, or 60 more lion heads. Um, you could fire these all day, but they really aren't very good. These ones have a penetration value at angles. If you look, it says distance, angle of attack on the bottom there, and at 10, and it says at 0. So if it's not angled, you get the full 230. If it's angled at 30 degrees, you get 184, and if it's angled at 60, you only get 78. So that basically says that you could pin, like for instance, an American vehicle even when he's kind of steeply angled because it's only 70, 70 something millimeters if you don't hit a track. So this also pins, has armor penetration effect and then explodes after the fact. So if you guys are curious about that. One of the things I don't like about the German tech tree is that you have to pay for all this. These little lines on here, they're not to make the tank look cool. It's actually, to protect against chemicals. And, Hitler, when he was, having them design this, he was going crazy with, that they were going to, Britain was going to start dropping gas, which why would they? There's no point of using gas, gas warfare and like stuff in World War One. So he had all these tanks, which was a whole waste. So it makes them more expensive when you play them. So the tanks I'm actually looking forward to getting is this Leopard 1. I'm probably not going to go for the mouse. I mean, unless I'm really bored. But I don't think I'm going to be able to play this tier. It's just too expensive. Yeah, I'm not good enough. I thought about maybe getting this vehicle, the Leopard. The problem with it is that you play in such a high tier with it. The thing about it is if you play the game mode I'm playing, it's only like 500 credits each time you die. So you could just sit there dying and have fun and not worry about losing any money. Yeah. Of course, I could play regular gameplay, but like I said, it just makes me way too angry to actually play it. So, anyway, all right. So, one of the things that sucks too is there's not a whole bunch of people that play at tier. What is that? Tier 4. It's tier 4, but this tank's rated 6.7. So I play from the 6.7 bracket all the way up to 8, that's a huge area. So that means until I get to, say, the mouse and maybe this vehicle here, that, it's not really, you know what I mean? This whole tech tree is garbage. It's going to be horrible. I think the Leopard, I've seen it. It's actually, you can come up fire and then back up before you ever get hit. And it's really fast. You can maneuver away from planes and stuff. But yeah, then you get into a slower vehicle, M48A2, GA2. Get into a slower vehicle with the same gun. And then same here. And then you get the Leopard 2. Which has 650 penetration, so I couldn't see ever getting these. They're too much. They're too much. It requires too much money. So, like I said, I think that I'm probably going to get this Tiger 2 fully unlocked. Get this Panther 2. And I don't think I'm going to go any further. And then if my premium time runs out, I'm basically only going to play the 5.7. So I'll basically go back to the Tiger E, Panther D, and probably use this Ostwind. And maybe I probably won't even use any of these vehicles, honestly. I could still use the Jag Panther. But all these other vehicles will just be too expensive to run. Seriously, it'll be way too expensive. Yeah. Too expensive to run. Now, like I said the other day, I probably will switch over to the Russian tech tree because I do want to get the IS-2, which has a ridiculous gun on it. And of course, at this tier, you guys will be seeing some of the tanks that are really popular on World of Tanks, which is the IS-3. There's like an object, some 140 or something, which has a super weak turret. So you guys can see here that we're still waiting to play. It's okay though. Like I said, you can rank these up much quicker. I don't think I would lose any money at all if I was to actually play against people. The problem is that unless you have something at 6.7 all the way, you're forced to play the tanks that you do have, and if you quit, then you're screwed. Alright. So, no comments yet. Which I guess is cool. You guys can actually see me, you know, using the mouse. It seems like there's a quite a delay going on here on the streaming. No, I do not want to leave the queue. So, yeah, if you wait long enough, it'll actually, you know, you'll play on the European server, which can just make it really bad, especially for deaths. Because if you don't get enough kills, then you don't get enough, you know, like each time you die, you end up paying for the vehicle, so it's kind of messed up. Now, I could always, of course, play a lower tiered vehicle, which can still be competitive. I mean, it can still be competitive, but alright. So this thing is just almost stock. I have I can repair my tank. I have a fire extinguisher, but that's it. So everything else is super slow. It does actually become really not really fast, but I mean, it can back up really quick. It's got a lot of stuff going on with it. Now that's a different looking vehicle. So yeah, when you play at this tier, it's almost, I mean, if I wanted to waste my money, I would just basically buy my way up and skip all these vehicles, and just you'd have to go right to the Leopard, because it's really the only tank that's gonna give you the penetration you need. So I have 230 penetration, and then when I get the Leopard, it's only going to be 303. So that's not very good. That's pretty cool if you see the wire-guided stuff. So this first wave here is probably the closest I'm going to get to... Yeah, it's going to be the closest I can get to really pinning and getting a lot of kills. And these, of course, are all... Yeah, that's actually not where I was shooting for. Yeah, the connection lag and all that's going to be pretty rough here. So that was my first kill. These have a front engine, so front-mounted engine. So you have to be super careful. Yeah, if I don't comment back to you really fast, just let me know. I recently had some people asking me to come play, you know, World of Tanks again, and I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to go back to console. I just can't stand it. I also have a very hard time playing multiplayer. So anything competitive, pretty much. Anything that's super competitive. So the rear-mounted vehicles, the ammo rack's in the back. You guys can see that I'm actually carrying way too much ammunition. Seriously. But it's why I'm staying hull down. Alright, so we're waiting. I am going to just check something really quick. Somebody was talking to me on Discord. Yeah, so yeah, at these vehicles right here, the only way I can pin them is if I hit underneath the turret, or get lucky by hitting it right above the gun, which, I mean, that's super rare. But they're too thick. The T-44-100, it's kind of one of the things where it's like, when you play this game, it's more realistic. angled armor on here, I don't know if it's realistic. I mean, it's supposed to be super realistic, but I can't tell. Honestly, I can't tell if it's realistic. You know, I've never, you know, fired a real tank shell at anything, but I know that this is probably the worst map to play. And one of the reasons why it's so bad is because it's Kursk. You can see that the what is that, south of the map just gets completely overrun. I'm not up at high enough tier, and I'm not fast enough to go over there and actually help. By the time I get over there, the next round starts, so if those guys can't, you know, hold that area off, then that's it. It's kind of cool when these tanks ride at this level, because once you get that first sweet shot, you can just copy it by holding auto lock, which there's a realistic mode on here, which I actually thought to myself, I was like, you know, it would actually do really well if they were to put it into World of Tanks, I think, because you can't detect people, the vehicles aren't highlighted. It's not about view range, it's about your actual view range. For instance, I can use binoculars, so I'd have to actually look for tanks manually, like in real life, which could be super difficult, but I could say right now that I could imagine that being really difficult. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're gonna beat this map, but at least I haven't died yet, and I am leader. I don't know how. You got a mouse right there. I think he has the 120 millimeter. Yeah, the thing that sucks is, well, actually, it's a good thing. If you play this, you will learn really fast what you can and can't do, where you can get pinned, and so on. Like 230 at this range, I mean, it says it's 80 kilometers. I don't know what that translates to, but there's no way I'm pinning the IS-3. No way. I can pin it from a lower shot and kill it, but it has to be underneath that spaced armor. Yeah, he's just on the other side. He's just on the other side of that hill. Yeah, I would say in real life, this tank, the IS-3 must have been, I mean, moving at an angle. I can see what it was designed for, designed to do. So that just cost me 2,800. And now I'm going to have to try and get back into position. It looks like these people are really struggling. Maybe not. Yeah, you can see just how slow this is when it's not upgraded. It will actually become, you know, relatively mobile. I don't know if that's realistic or not. They don't actually give you a speedometer on here, I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of extra adjustments and stuff that you can do. Hopefully, I don't get singled out like this guy's looking at me. I can't pin that thing anywhere. Not while he's facing me. One shots me. Yeah, it actually, I think it still has the 175 pin, so it doesn't really make any sense for it to be able to pin me, but maybe it's higher. I could actually check that out after. I think since we're losing, and we're gonna lose, there's no real reason for me to try and come back. I'm gonna come back as this, even though it's probably gonna make me lose silver, or lose whatever. But I'm just going to basically drive over here and shoot some planes down, because it's not going to be, it's not going to be a successful... It's definitely not going to be successful. All I got to do is find the plane. Yeah, I have to wait for them to dive. But this is actually a really good anti-aircraft tank. It's just not very good at actually shooting other vehicles. I mean, you can like cripple them, blow their tracks off with some good shots, but that's pretty much it. It costs a little bit too much, I think, to run these vehicles, and then, if you're getting them killed. I would think if I was a game developer, I would realize that people can't play the tiers they want to play because of the price of everything, which all pay-to-win games are like that. It's all a temptation to get you to spend money, which I guess some people like that temptation, because, I mean, I guess because they have to use their willpower, but... Me personally, I don't think that it's very good. Yeah, there's nothing I can do to these vehicles. All I can do is get credit. Yeah, there was no way we were winning that. Yeah, I did notice that this tier, that winning is a hell of a lot harder, and I think that I might have to skip this tier because it's going to be very difficult to even get, one thing. So it's going to take me like double the amount of games to do anything on here, honestly. Alright. What's up, HK? Alright, so let's see what we actually did here. What I mean by that is... So it does look like we got a little bit, but we need an entirety of 120,000 experience, and then look at how much they want for this one. Doesn't actually show how much you would need, but I'm pretty sure that this one would be a representation of it. So this is 120. I'm sure this one's probably a little bit more to research. And of course the 105, it's not a very good vehicle. Like I said, it can't sit out in the open against, a Leopard 1. It can't sit out in the open against an IS-3, which I do want to actually check that out. Let's check out the IS-3 right here. So the gun is a it has a 198 pin, and it's 122 millimeters, and then you have what looks to be same shell, higher explosive, and then you have another type as higher penetration. Yeah, I would say that this is basically its APCR here. I don't actually understand how you could have almost the exact same type of shell, BR-47-1D. Yeah, it's kind of funny because the one that they show on World of Tanks, this one having, is actually a completely different gun. It's actually more of the IS. Yeah, it doesn't look like you get any other. Yeah, so it's as is. But yeah, let's check out the armor on this. So I have 230, but this is angled at 56 degrees. Yeah, so this is just out of the range of a Tiger penetrating it, which is probably, I mean, this was actually designed specifically for that. So you got an 8mm thick area, and then underneath it you have the angled armor that's 90. You can actually see that it's angled in, which I would honestly tell you that I think if you shot this, it would just go straight through the track. But you can see that a side shot here is only 90. But the value at the higher level is a lot more. Turret, yeah, is not getting pinned. This looks like it's 100, but there's stuff behind it. I do know you can still pin the top of this because it's not really that thick. So a high explosive shell. If you had a bigger gun, you could probably one-shot this. But the weakest places I've seen is here. If you can hit this neck, that's the only way you're gonna get through it. Let's check out the ammo rack. Yeah, it's all around the. So it's a two-stage system, huh? I did not know that. So you have to ram the shell in, and then grab the gunpowder shell, and then ram that in there. And so then, yeah, that makes sense. Requires two different types. That's crazy. I believe that the T-34 is the same way, but they have two loaders, one that handles powder, one that handles the shell. Okay. Alright, well, that's going to be a rough tier, honestly. I thought, to be honest, I think so far, the most, I'll say that the tier I thought was the worst was the American tech tree. Was it M6A2 could take a hell of a lot of punishment frontally, but because it had these little angled wings on it, you could go right through the sides and ammo rack it pretty much every time with specific shells, and it gets devastated by Russian 76mm tanks, which is kind of crazy. These ones actually start getting pretty good. Like towards the end here, the amount of armor that you're getting is actually really good. I mean, in that tier, that's why it's rated 6.0. It's basically the Jumbo or Super Persian. But this entire tech tree, if you look, they're all one shots. I mean, 63mm is your max armor. You know, you're not getting a lot. And then the T-25 is a horrible tank. You can only sit, hull down. The M26 is a relatively mobile vehicle, but I did not enjoy it. Yeah, it was like I said, it can still be penetrated by a Tiger or anything at 5.7 frontally. And then the T-34 is actually decent, but it's so slow that it's really easy to get flanked, especially in game. I haven't tried this one, but anyway. I think I'm going to go ahead and end this. I did see that my wife sent me a text, so yeah. So I'll probably keep on playing this. I will say that I do know that I did lose a little bit, maybe broke even on that. I think I might actually be better off just playing the 6.7 or even going back to 6.3 and just play that tier, like just play these vehicles here and not work on these vehicles. I think that they're too expensive, and it's going to take a hell of a long time to actually get this thing modified. I don't know how many battles I have in it, but you know, getting all of this other stuff like this filter, getting the extra, it's 5,900 experience, which means I'd have to have a winning game relatively frequent. Once I get the transmission and engine, it will actually be maneuverable. And then the smoke and stuff doesn't really matter when you're playing. But the elevation mechanics definitely, improves accuracy and all that stuff. And then having the ability to switch out one of your crew is good. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Thanks for watching, and later.